Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine Odessa. We're starting our working day with the briefing dedicated to the offensive guard and the recruiting campaign to the newly established units. We're having with us representatives of different law enforcement units, and I would like to give floor first to Denis Ryzhuk, the Deputy Head of Staff of Southern Regional Directorate of the State Border Guard Service of Ukraine. The floor is yours. Good afternoon, dear guests and our audience. I would like to thank all brothers in arms who joined the unit Stalewy Cordon, which can be translated as the steel border. And I would also like to thank those who were in charge of the recruiting campaign. The task has been completed. And now we are at the final stage of training. After that, the offensive guard will be ready to perform duties according to the orders of the President of Ukraine. Thank you to everyone. And now Volodymyr Belov, Senior Officer of the Southern Department of Procurement of the Image and Publishing Center of the National Guard of Ukraine. Mr. Belov, the floor is yours. Thank you very much, and I would also like to thank all volunteers who have joined our guard to defend and to liberate Ukraine. This is a significant contribution into our country because we all must protect and defend our state. As for the recruitment campaign, now we have 6 brigades of the National Guard. They are fully equipped with everything needed, including weapons, individual first aid kits, tourniquets. These units have everything needed to train and to liberate Ukraine. No serviceman of the National Guard of Ukraine who is trained for the offensive guard faces lack of the equipment. So this means that all of them have everything needed: helmet, vest, everything which is needed according to their position. All servicemen are trained. No serviceman will be sent to the combat zone without proper training. We still have candidates, we still have applications that the recruitment centers of the National Guard receive. People are motivated, they want to serve. We have enough reserves of the manpower, but the main backbone is already there. The units are fully completed. The training is ongoing, and after the training is completed, they will be sent to the combat zone under the supervision of the defensive forces. So the defensive forces will be in charge of the units, and they will be involved in the liberation of the whole of Ukraine, for Ukraine to become independent again. And now I would like to give floor to Oleksandr Pashko, Deputy Head of the Department of the Special Operations Police Department, United Assault Brigade of the National Police of Ukraine, Lyut. Good morning. I would also like to thank everyone who joined the offensive guard, especially the Assault Brigade, Lyut. This is a new militarized unit of the National Police of Ukraine. I would also like to thank all recruitment units who were able to recruit people to join our units. And I would like to say that training is ongoing. And I would like to thank those who train our servicemen. I would also like to thank healthcare units who provide medical training for our military. I would also like to thank educational institutions of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine who train our policemen. This is a unit for the National Police of Ukraine, which is ready to perform all tasks to liberate Ukraine. Thank you. Can you remind me, please, if I'm not mistaken, there are 9 brigades that have been formed in the framework of the recruiting campaign, or 8. First, we wanted to have 8 brigades, but thanks to the big number of candidates, we were able to create 1 more brigade for the National Guard of Ukraine. So you have now 9 in total. Am I right in understanding that the recruiting campaign is over? So now you are recruiting people for reserves, but the active stage is over and the training is ongoing. Yes. All servicemen are retrained because all of them have different knowledge and different skills, but all of them should undergo advanced training for them to form new teams, like new families, and it is very important for their work in the future. The brigade Lyut has a backbone which are Special Unit Safari, Tsunami, and the battalion of the National Police, Luhansk 1, named after the hero of Ukraine, Sergei Gubanov. But the campaign is not over. Every policeman or policewoman from different regions of Ukraine can still join the Assault Brigade Lyut, any regiment of the brigade. Civilians can also be recruited following the competitive procedure, and the information can be found on the website of the National Police of Ukraine. So we are still recruiting people for reserves to the Lyut Brigade. I have a question with regard to experienced military. I'm not going to ask you the amount of people who has joined those brigade, but we know about heroism of the units of the State Border Guard Service and the National Guard, like the brigade that performs operative tasks, and the one named after Kulchitsky, and the units who are now under supervision of the National Police. But coming back to those 9 brigades, how many people there have the combat experience that they have gained over the last year or during the previous phase of the war? Could you provide some percentage, 1/3 or half of those units? As for the Stalovoy Cordon, most of the servicemen who have joined those units, they have combat experience. They have served in the north and in the east of our country, and they have been already awarded by the president and other officials. This is around 70% of those people who are well trained and who have combat experience. Volodymyr. In the National Guard, we have mostly people with the combat experience. These are officers, and though the officers who were volunteers in 2014, and they served for some period of time, and then due to some family or personal reasons, they left the army. But in 2022, they returned to the armed forces of Ukraine to protect our country, and now they are in the National Guard, in the Assault Brigades. Some of them are in charge of the brigades or units. We can't say that those units are fully formed by the experienced military. It depends on the unit, because some units have more volunteers, others have more experienced servicemen. But we try to keep balance for all the units to be like one family, one, so to say, fist to protect the country. I'd like to remind that the backbone of the Lyut Brigade is comprised of two regiments, Safari and Tsunami. We have also battalions like Tower. Those people have similar experience. Around 50% of them are former policemen, and most of them already have combat and military experience. They support our trainers and the experts of the armed forces of Ukraine and educational institutions to train the staff. They serve as example. They demonstrate how the servicemen should act to be safe and sound when performing their duties. Thank you. I have one more question, and your colleagues told a bit about this during the first briefings. I'm now talking about the equipment of this brigade and special equipment which is needed for the offensive. And as far as I understand, all units of armed forces will be involved in that offensive. Could you share some details, please? During the whole training of the servicemen of the National Guard, they were able to use modern first aid kits, modern types of weapons that we've received from our European colleagues and European countries. This also includes heavy machinery like tanks, which have been already put on the balance and they are maintained. All servicemen who will be drivers, operators, or the heads of the automobile services have undergone training to know how to operate the new types of techniques, and also they learned how to maintain and repair this equipment, because there are some specifics of maintaining and using these equipment. The same can be told about medical staff. They are trained not only by our experts, national experts, but also by the foreign colleagues. We cannot share all the details of training, but I can say that these servicemen and medical staff are trained not only on the territory of Ukraine, but also abroad. I can also add that for police officers, there are a lot of new equipment and new vehicles. These are European type. Also protection means like first aid kits. We also have the armored machinery and vehicles, mortars, and other equipment. And we have also the NATO-type equipment and machinery and vehicles, and people are trained accordingly to properly operate this type of machinery and equipment to protect and defend our country. So all the tasks for the offensive guard, for the recruitment and training are fulfilled, and the units are ready to perform their duties. Just to clarify, the units are ready to perform tasks, so they have not started already performing, but they are ready to this. So the training and retraining process is ongoing. As soon as they are fully ready to perform their duties and tasks, they will be sent under supervision of the armed forces of Ukraine to perform their duties. We have a question from my colleague. Anatoly Kosin, Media Center, Ukraine. I have like a short question. The Chernomorsk Siege, this is the battalion that have been formed in our region. And so I know that foreign nationals are willing to be involved there. What can you say about the offensive guard? We've got applications from foreign citizens from Portugal. There were also Russians. But these people are referred to the human resources units for verification, and after that they can be sent to the relevant units. I cannot disclose information in full. I can also say that there are some checks and verification of these people. Thank you. As for Lyut Brigade, we can recruit people on the competitive basis, or this should be a police officer. And police officers can be only Ukrainian citizens. So in our Lyut Brigade, we have only motivated policemen or those people who don't have some violations of law in their background. So we provide criminal and administrative checks. But as far as I know, the people with criminals or sentenced people cannot join the forces. Thank you very much for being with us today. We will monitor the information related to the offensive guard. Stay tuned. At noon, we will have the next briefing for today.